Isabell, thank you for joining me all the way from Munich, Germany. I know it's a little inconvenient to be in Germany and the time schedule, so thank you for making this a priority. We're really happy to have you be a part of NFT.NYC this year. The things that you do at the university is fascinating. The more I studied who you were and kind of looked into your background, the more fascinated I became. So you're at the Technical University of Munich.
That's correct, yeah.
You tell us a bit about yourself and what you do there, and then maybe we could talk a bit about your topic on NFT investing that you'll be sharing with us after that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm a professor of strategy and organization at TUM for over 10 years. And we do research on, business model change, how emerging technologies will impact value change, and how companies will make money in the future. A very important topic if you run a public company. And, I think we've done some soul searching in this pandemic and asked ourselves, so who are we and how do we work? How do we approach our research? And we agreed we're usually always early. We spot trends apparently early, sometimes too early, which is good in some ways and bad in others. But we've been on the blockchain Web3 topic for some years, trying to sort of engage organizations doing research on blockchain and DeFi mostly for the longest term. And now recently also on DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and tokens, NFTs, and the great potential of tokens for, I would say, everything. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. When you talk about NFT investing at our event, NFT.NYC, you talk about the crypto asset performance and predicting that performance through YouTube, social media, and Metcalfes Law. Do you want to talk about Metcalfes Law for those that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah. So it's a law that applies to products that have underlying information as the key component. See, it greatly matters if you're competing on something physical or something that's digital and non-physical. Because if you manufacture a great product that is a physical product, even if you figured out to build the best car, the best house, the best airplane, you will have additional variable costs and marginal costs that are of considerable height. But when you have built a non-physical, a digital product, you may have high costs to figure out the right algorithm and how to match people and what they're looking for. But once you have that, the marginal costs and the variable costs are really minimal. Maybe you have to put in another server. So I feel like a lot of, global competition is in a way distorted because some firms keep competing on, with physical products, and whereas others, and you can see it with Tesla, Tesla is valued so highly because they are smart at using software and to sort of upgrade their products with software downloads that have low marginal and variable costs as you keep selling them to the world. So Metcalfes Law is a law that says that the utility of using a service or a product grows with the user base. So in the end, what that might mean for a lot of companies is, unlike in the old times before 2007, it's not the technological excellence or quality of a product, that decides whether you buy it, or the brand. For German car manufacturing industry, brand has always been what they compete on. You tell people, well, I drive a BMW, you put your key on the table discreetly and hope someone notices. But in a world where it's about mobility, and being able to access mobility anywhere, any place, and when you want it, it may become more important to have that service, and you might care less about the actual product or if the car, has a particular technological standard. And on top of that, in mobility, but also in other industries, the company that wins in the end might be the company that is able to have the greatest number of its products learn. If you have the greatest fleet, right? You have, once one car learns something new, it can broadcast that to all the other cars. And so you may be ahead of the competition just by the network effect that took place.
One of the things that you're going to bring to the event is the empirical research and presenting that on innovative NFT valuation. When a university or a representative like yourself says, hey, this is empirical research that we're bringing forth, what does it take for it to be in that category of people can really count on, hey, this has really been extensive and So can you talk to me about that? Because there's a lot of research done in the NFT space. There are a lot of research websites that say valuations. So can you talk a bit about the different approach that you and your university take compared to what others would just call, oh, this is the research that we've done and we're delivering it to our Discord network or whatever?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure other people, other groups do great research as well. So we are just trying to take our perspective on, what is, first of all, how can you categorize tokens, NFTs, also DAOs, and then what is at least correlated and possibly later, what is predictive of a certain development or a certain success. And, it turns out that, for, the information economy, and Web3 clearly is the heart of the information economy, social success in terms of user growth, social outreach on social media, on Discord, followership, it matters a great deal. So, I mean, in other words, I think it extends what we have already seen, in Web 2, is that it's not the best product, the best NFT, the technologically most advanced token that maybe ends up winning. It's the one that people believe will win. So it's a psychological thing. Reality is what is real to people, and what is real to people is open to influence, and influence nowadays takes place, of course, on digital social media. So that's why these numbers, we think, matter a great deal in predicting the ultimate performance of any new initiative in that space.
When you look at the NFT space and the different research that's being done, especially any universities that are involved, what are your thoughts in terms of the diversity of different universities that are kind of tipping their toe into this water in terms of different continents and different approaches? Do you see a lot of different peers that you kind of can collaborate with, or do you feel like your team is kind of the first to the space for the most part and waiting for others to come and do similar things?
Well, good question. Thanks. So I think it's a tight-knit community in Germany for sure. And I think people tend to know each other or tend to know of each other. And I think it still holds true to this date. We checked it a couple of weeks ago that there are, I think, almost no, explicitly dedicated chairs or professorships to the topic of blockchain or Web3. So the people, very much like myself and others we're collaborating with, they're doing that, with their board funds, and they usually have appointments for another area like strategy or finance or computer science. So it's a community that's led and driven by self-motivated individuals, which I think is good. It feels like the whole Web3 space is very much driven forward by people who intrinsically believe about the technology and the changes it can bring. But from a strategic political perspective, of course, I think it would be good to dedicate more funding or dedicate more explicit denominations to fostering that. So, for example, we see more activity in terms of student groups, blockchain student groups, or even official university groups or departments or initiatives in the UK and in the US. That's a pattern we see with a lot of technology, unfortunately, from a German European perspective. So we could do better in that respect, I guess. But all over the world, there are these people who are fascinated by the possibilities and come together in Discord or even in DAOs, right? They buy a membership token and here they are. Or, what I find fascinating, the future of my own industry, university and education. I mean, we have now these initiatives, for example, like Crypto College by Greg Eisenberg, or the kernel community, which I think is, state of the art on how you build a digital university. You mix, it's an accelerator, it's a university, it's gamification, it's community, it's, I think it's, if you want to see the future of education, take a look at kernel, I think.
And where's the kernel? How do you spell it? I want to make sure that people that are watching.
Yeah, it's KERNEL, and you have to, because kernel is also a part of a computer, so you have to Google probably kernel and blockchain education, or kernel and Web3, or kernel fellowship, I think is what they recruit people for.
I was telling you before we started the interview, I had been out to Germany, both Berlin and Munich for sure, for a bunch of crypto conferences. And, it was, in my opinion, like, I thought this is where things are happening. There's a lot
Thanks,
of people.
yeah, I love to hear that. Thank you.
And this is 2018, so this is early, and there's a lot of talk about, we didn't call it NFTs all the time. We were talking digital assets and crypto collectibles and the ability to, prove ownership and intellectual property and so but it basically was the NFT industry. And we had talked a bit about things like CryptoPunks and CryptoKitties as examples.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I haven't been to Germany recently because of COVID and all those types of things. Can you just give us at NFT.NYC, the greater community, a little insight on some of the things that you love most about Germans, crypto, blockchain, NFT communities and leaders and companies that are coming out of your country?
Sure. So I think the biggest company that has stepped forward is Adidas, because they entered the metaverse, and they did that quite professionally and in earnest. And some other bigger companies have started to dip their toes in, like Mercedes and BMW and Hugo Boss, fashion industry. And I think even WWF Germany gives you, when you donate some money, give you an NFT of an endangered species you've now saved. So they're starting, and I think the big cities, there are always activities going on. Obviously, Berlin is still our entrepreneurship capital. I think followed closely by Munich, which prides itself on fostering being more deep tech. So there might be a potential link between, blockchain technologies and sensors that link the digital world to the physical world, which I also think is going to be important if Web3 is going to take off. And then there's Frankfurt, a financial center, where there's my friend and colleague, Philipp Sandner, running, I think, a very successful blockchain center there, and having the crypto asset conference. He had that for several years. So that would be a very good place to pick up. Or some of my own students here in Munich. Very interestingly, they founded a DAO called Pretzel DAO, because the sign, for Bavaria is the pretzel you have with your 1 liter beer at the Oktoberfest. And that's interesting, because that seems to be going really well. It's close to the university, but as a DAO, it's not officially part of the university. And they start collaborating with companies and other initiatives. So they're starting to get approached for what I would call doing Web3 consulting, basically, onboarding companies. We had a fashion designer ask us if we could help them sort of mint the fashion creations for a roadshow. So those would be some of the initiatives I'd check out. Non-blockchain specific, but nevertheless, I think a must visit and must know about in Germany in entrepreneurship context is the Center for Digital Technology and Management. I have to, conflict of interest, I'm the current director, but I would say that even if I wasn't the current director, they're very impressive, because in this, we've allowed really young students to come up with ideas, and they've been very, very successful in bringing about, I think, more unicorns than I think a lot of other initiatives, certainly most successful in Germany. And the secret is that we let really young people go ahead with, their ideas, and it's not older people telling them what to do. So if you're in Munich, definitely stop by CDTM, Center for Digital Technology and Management. Let me know. I'll be happy to put you in touch.
Well, I sure am glad that you're a part of our event, Isabell. I am thankful for the work that you do. And it's not just in one place, the Technical University of Munich. As you mentioned, you're involved in several different things from a leadership perspective. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for coming to share with all of us. And I look forward to seeing you in New York.
Thanks, Ian. That's most pleasurable interview. Thank you.
Yay. That's what we want. We want to have laughter and fun and enjoyment. And for those that are watching the archive of this, or maybe watching us live, thank you for your attention.